Spike Cohen is was the 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidate. Hey, does that mean you were the first millennial that was on the ballot in all 50 states? Is that true, Spike?
That's correct. And I'm one of the first millennials. I like to say I'm a millennial with male pattern baldness, but I just barely began the beginning of the millennial generation. So yes, technically I am the first millennial to have been on a national ticket.
How many votes did the Libertarian Party get in 2020?
I believe just south of 2 million votes. We came in third place. Way behind in third place, but we came in third place.
There you go, third place. Doesn't get you anything except the great experience of campaigning on the Libertarian Party platform. Now, you're coming to Delaware on May 20th, I think, or the weekend of May 20th. What's up with that? What brings you to the first state?
Absolutely, yeah. I will be there Friday and Saturday, the 19th and the 20th. I will be there for the Libertarian Party of Delaware's 2023 annual convention. And the main event's going to be at the Village Event Center in Wilmington that evening of the 20th. But there are going to be some other ticketed events as well. If anyone's interested in finding out more, they can go to spikecohen.com and click on events, and they'll see the link there to see all the info for the Delaware convention events, and they can register there.
What are you doing these days? Are you still obviously you're still involved in Libertarian Party politics, but what else keeps you busy, Spike?
Well, coming out of the 2020 election, I realized that we obviously have a lot of growing to do as a party and as a movement. And I realized that even more importantly than anything related to party politics, we needed a culture built on liberty. For far too long, people have kind of been beaten into the ground of believing that they're not only reliant on government, but that there's no other way. And they're often not seeing or realizing that a lot of the suffering that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis is as a direct result of the government having too much power and them not having enough power in their own lives and affairs. So I actually started a nonprofit shortly after the election ended called You Are the Power. And what we do is we look for people who are in a bad situation because of abuse or neglect from their local government. We help them and their local communities to organize to get justice for them and accountability for the people who are doing it to them. And we use those as opportunities to show people that these things wouldn't be happening or these things will stop happening when we put the power back in the hands of the people where it always belongs. So that's been my main focus for the past 2 years. Let's open our eyes a little bit here. Tell us some of the examples of how people are in dire straits because of the government. Oh, absolutely. I'll have to just go through one. There are about 15 I could throw at you right now, but one right off the top of my head, there was a lady in Indiana. Her home burned down, and her insurance company, while they were going through the year-plus long process of getting contractors and determining damages and rebuilding the home, turned out it had to be rebuilt from scratch. They gave her and her family an RV to live in the meantime. And, it was cramped, but it met all their needs. And the zoning board tried to use it as an opportunity to fine her, I believe, $5,000 a day for having two homes on one property, even though one of the homes was burned to the ground. And they said, you don't have to pay this fine if you just give us your land. And apparently they had done this multiple other times before. This was a common practice they had. They were sure they were going to railroad this poor lady and her family like they had done to so many others. But then we found out about it. We helped organize the local community against it. And in pretty short order, not only did they back off, but it actually resulted in a hearing where a judge disbanded them and threatened action against them if they didn't stop doing it. This is just one of many examples of the kind of work that we do. Can you tell me about a corrupt sheriff in West Virginia and how you were assisting in that case, too? Yes, absolutely. So there is a sheriff in West Virginia named Nathan Harmon. And we originally found out about him because of something that was relatively minor, but still against the law. He was blocking comments from people that were asking him questions or being critical of him on his official Facebook page. Now, you and I are allowed to block people because it's just our personal or professional pages, but government officials aren't allowed to do that. It's been ruled multiple times that the First Amendment protects our right to petition for redress of grievances against government. That includes on social media, and that when government blocks us, they are effectively violating our First Amendment right. And so I basically went on there just to inform him that he had done that, and he ended up blocking me as well. And that took us down a rabbit hole of finding out all the other things he was doing as well. And one of the things that we found out about is that he was basically covering up a drunk driving and property damage incident involving his daughter. And we actually have some other things that we've been finding out that we're still vetting that we're going to be releasing in the coming weeks and months about Sheriff Harmon. But I mean, the bottom line is that if I were in the position he was in, I would probably just resign.
Wow. It always starts with something small and then it snowballs, it seems like. It's just like a symptom. You know, blocking people is just a symptom of something else going on. Unbelievable.
Exactly. And that's what we've discovered is that the more aggressive that someone in government responds to simple questions or simple critique, the more likely it is they have way more to hide than just being a little bit oversensitive.
Spike Cohen, you are the power, and I guess your website, you already mentioned it, is spikecohen.com, but you also have youarethepower.net. Is that correct?
Yeah. So my I guess my personal professional page is spikecohen.com, but the website for You Are the Power is youarethepower.net.
All right. Libertarian Party. How do you explain that to people that are so locked into thinking only Republican or only Democrat? How do you explain Libertarian Party to them?
Well, first, the way I would explain the Libertarian Party is we recognize that people do best when they are most free. We recognize that the problems that we are facing are very often caused by the fact that there's way too much power in the hands of way too few people who have essentially no accountability, and that the only way that we're ever going to be able to fix these problems long term and address these things is to take that power back and put it in the hands of the people where it always belongs. Then speaking to the Republican versus Democrat thing, I tell them that this upcoming election, whatever year it is, this upcoming election is way too important for us to throw our vote away again for the people who created the mess that we're in. And the reality is that there's never been a time when one party or the other was, completely in charge and everything was fantastic. And, we weren't running up massive amounts of debt and we weren't issuing new taxes and people's lives weren't being ruined by oppressive government policies. That's simply false. The reality is that you have two parties who, in many ways, are working hand in hand together to pay off the corporate cronies who put them in office and stick us with the bill for it and hold us down anytime we try to break out from that. And, that cycle is never going to end until we break free from the two-party system and look for better opportunities for people to represent us.
Spike Cohen was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party back in 2020. Are you going to run for president this time?
I have not decided yet. That is a decision I will be making one way or another very shortly. But I will tell you one thing. The American people deserve a lot better than what they've been given as options. And it is increasingly shaping up to be a Biden versus Trump race, absent any of the other candidates running. And there was recent polling that showed that I think 70% of Americans didn't want Biden to run again, and 60% of Americans didn't want Trump to run again. And so predictably, the two parties responded to that information by saying, great news, that's exactly what we're going to give you. And I think that the American people deserve far, far better. And so we will see. We will see what happens for 24.
These presidential debates that will ultimately happen, no matter who the Republicans or Democrats pick, the debates themselves, do you think they're sort of rigged to keep smaller parties or third party like Libertarian parties out?
Oh, well, they themselves say that it's rigged. They don't use that wording, but they say that it is the Commission on Presidential Debates is an organization that is run by the Republican and Democrat parties. They set the entry criteria in such a way to basically ensure that only the Democrat and Republican parties can participate. After 1992, when Ross Perot was included in the debates. The Republicans and Democrats decided that was never going to happen again under their watch, and that's exactly what the CPD is. It is essentially a debate cartel. And here's how pervasive it is, Dan. If you want to run for the Republican or Democrat nomination for president, in order to be allowed to be included in the primary debates to run for the nomination, you have to sign a document, a legal document stating that if you do get the nomination for either the Republican or Democrat parties, that you will only participate in general election debates that are hosted by the Commission on Presidential Debates. So like when there were people that were trying to set up third-party debates and things like that, including the major candidates, they were contractually bound not to participate in a debate that wasn't just a Republican versus Democrat debate.
That is a mind-blowing bit of news that you just gave me. I knew it was sort of controlled and difficult, but I did not know it went to that level. That is a completely rigged system from the get-go.
Yeah. And they don't claim to be nonpartisan. They claim that they are bipartisan. And that's very clear. They are partisan for the two parties that are in charge of everything. And every bit of criteria they select, they have polling thresholds that you are required to meet, which keep getting ratcheted up over time. And but what they don't mention in the polling criteria thresholds is that the polling companies don't have to actually mention any of the other candidates. They have no control over that. And very often the polling companies don't mention other candidates. So even if you end up with a candidate that clears whatever threshold they have, which is usually in the double digits, it doesn't necessarily, they never even get included in the debates. A big part of the reason why I started You Are the Power was because I realized that, and we're a nonpartisan organization, so it's not for the direct benefit of the Libertarian Party, but I realized that broadly speaking, we're never going to be able to make the impact we want as people that love freedom and liberty, no matter what party we're a part of. I realized we were never going to be able to make that impact within the current government and corporate media information cartel that we have right now. We have to build a culture that is so involved and so outspoken and so effective that they simply can't ignore us. If only for their own ratings, they can't ignore us. We can't continue going to their table and asking for a seat at it. We have to make our own table and make them realize they need to come to ours.
What tools do you have in your toolbox at You Are the Power to fight City Hall, so to speak, or to fight this cartel of a Republican and Democrat? You mentioned a court case in one instance, but what other tools are in our toolbox if we feel we're being oppressed by the government?
So the tools we offer are people power. What we have discovered is, especially at the local level, more often than not, all it requires is for the people in those positions, whether it's a city council or a county council, zoning board, school board, whatever, to know that there are a large number of their constituents who are not happy about what they're doing. For them to back off. Every once in a while we have cases where they dig in their heels and we have to, show up in greater numbers, and make a bigger deal out of it. But, the vast majority of the time, all it takes is us, basically notifying the community, through a combination of local organization, social media organization, shining a spotlight, leveraging our local media connections that we built over the years, to drive attention to the cause we're working on. That's usually enough to get them to back off. It's incredible how often, these people in these, like a city council meeting, they're used to going and doing a city council meeting casually over a cup of coffee, signing off on some of the most corrupt, horrific things you can think of in your local government. And maybe one or two people shows up and doesn't even realize what it is they're even talking about, or they might show up and complain about a pothole when dozens or hundreds of people show up, all demanding that they stop doing, whatever the thing is they're doing, whatever cause we're working on. 9 times out of 10, they back right off because they're not used to it. So that's the biggest tool we have, is the power of the people.
Spike Cohen, youarethepower.net, or his personal page, spikecohen.com. Again, give a plug for your visit to Delaware. It's for the Libertarian statewide Libertarian Party convention. Tell us when that is and what you plan on doing there.
Yes, I will be there Friday and Saturday, May 19th and May 20th. The main event for the Libertarian Party 2023, it's Libertarian Party of Delaware's 2023 convention is at the Village Event Center on Saturday the 20th. But there are also some really cool ticketed events we're doing as well. So if you go to spikecohen.com and click on events, you'll see the event tab for the Libertarian Party of Delaware convention, and you can click on that, and that will bring you to all of the details and info on the event. I'd love to see you there. Whether you already know you're a Libertarian or you have questions, we'd love to have you. I will be doing some Q&A while I'm there, so I'd love to answer any questions you have and get to meet you, and let's keep fighting for liberty. So thanks for having me on, Dan. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you. Stay in touch, Spike, all right?
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.